The Hamilton Intramatic chronograph has roots that date all the way back to the late 60s, inspired by the brand's first automatic chronograph, the Chronomatic, introduced in 1969. The Intramatic Chrono, as we now know it, made its debut in 2017. It is a range that is very faithful to and inspired by 60s Americana driving culture, and fun fact, it made a cameo in the distant fictional future, appearing in the 2021 film The Matrix Resurrections on the wrist of, spoiler alert, Morpheus. It's a classic panda look straight out of the 60s, right? This is why I cannot help but wonder if this new stealthy PVD trio of Intramatic chronographs debuting today would have been a better fit. Admittedly, this low-stakes preamble was a means to set the stage for the real novelty element of this trio. Of course, the classic 60s panda style looked great on Morpheus's wrist in the film, but it's important to note that the current collection, until today, was very vintage inspired, particularly from the 60s. Here we see 40mm stainless steel cases that have been black PVD treated, marking a new territory for the range that embraces a stealthy modern vibe that discards the classic panda format. On the wrist, the Hamilton Intramatic Chrono can feel larger than a 40mm watch due to its thinner bezel and larger dial, but with its 49.2mm lug-to-lug, few wrists will face any issue in terms of fit. At 14.45mm thick, it's not the most slender of chronograph watches, but it's certainly not beefy when compared to other Swiss chronographs that somehow managed to be offered well below $3,000. Keep in mind as well, the case is 100 meters water resistant with a screw-down crown. And as a little interesting case element, you have the option to quickly correct the date via a pusher at the 10 o'clock position of the case. All three of the new configurations have black dials, which notably forgo contrasting panda-style counters. Instead, the two counters, the running seconds at 9 o'clock and the 30-minute elapsed minutes at 3 o'clock, are also rendered in black. The central medallion, so to speak, of the dial has a matte and subtly grained texture. The two counters, however, will play with light a little differently due to the fact they are decorated with a concentric texture, ultimately making the tone-on-tone chronograph counters easier to discern. And speaking of legibility, the central hours and minutes hands and the squared pips adjacent to the hour indices are filled with superluminova for visibility in darkness. Now, I've seen plenty of brands that play at even higher price points be disappointingly lazy, outfitting a dial like this with your stock standard black on white date disc. So major props to Hamilton for making the effort to use a white on black date disc that far better blends into the dial and upholds the stealthier nature of the overall watch. With it framed at 6 o'clock, between the two counters and the date indication, the dial feels very balanced and symmetrical. The three configurations distinguish themselves through the pop of color they add through the central chronograph seconds hand and matching tachymeter scale. Well, actually, it's really two that add a pop of color. The first configuration keeps things simple, opting for white to contrast against the black color scheme. But your second and third options offer either yellow or orange, and these color accents are even extended to the leather straps, visible beneath the perforations. Each watch and strap is secured to the wrist via a case-matching pin buckle. Driving the Hamilton Intramatic is Hamilton's robust and reliable H-31 movement. The nerdiest of watch nerds will be aware that this caliber is rooted in the Etta Valjoux 7750 architecture, but in its spec up and modification by Hamilton, it boasts 12 more hours of power reserve with its 60 hours of endurance off the wrist on a full wind. Though the Hamilton of today may not be associated with high complications or Geneva Seal levels of caliber decoration, the brand has become a very strong fan favorite due to the quality and spec it manages to deliver at very value-driven prices, and therefore a brand everyone can appreciate, regardless of where someone stands on the budget or watch knowledge side of the spectrum. Whether the more classic 60s flavored Intramatics that preceded them or the new stealthy trio introduced today, I'm confident that the Intramatic is irrefutably one of the strongest Swiss chronograph offerings you can find between $2,000 and $3,000. It's ultimately a matter of personal preference in terms of which aesthetic you choose, which leads me to my video ending question. Of these three new models, which would be your pick? Or do you prefer the more classic 60s panda flavor models that preceded it? Let me know in the comments below. These three new Hamilton Intramatic watches are available now for purchase, priced at $2,295. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to the Time and Tide channel for all the latest watch news, reviews, and content. And as always, I'll see you on the next one.